hunt, and I worked for 11 years as a special agent, most of those years as a DEA agent, and I did that from 73 to 81. After that, I had earned my master's degree from University of Houston and my law degree from South Texas College of Law. Then I became, the DEA wanted to transfer me, as they did anybody else that had been in a certain place over 10 years, either to Miami or New York or LA, and I had a new house and a new baby and all that stuff. And I said, well, I don't want to leave. And I had a new law degree. So instead of doing the transfer, I took a lump sum retirement and became a criminal prosecutor. I was a prosecutor for 11 years, and then in 1994, I was hired by the state of Texas to run the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. I did that also for 11 years, where I was the director of the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. I retired and came here. So what I'm telling you is I've been a police officer and gun-toting guy for city police departments, county agencies, state agencies, and federal agencies. So I have a huge background on what you're facing in your career and the job opportunities, scheduling, and so forth that you will have. And when I was working through the state, I did earn my PhD from the University of Texas. So I teach, and I teach in the graduate program for Homeland Security Studies. My class today was on the Woodlands campus. The students that have graduate students weren't too upset that they got to go out early today because I'm up here with you guys this afternoon. But at one time, I was a freshman like many of you. I know a lot of you are in your indoctrination classes at the university and seeing where you're going to go. How many of you are in here are freshmen? Sophomores? Juniors? Any seniors? Okay. You know, to do an internship, we ask you to be a senior. And the reason is a number of things. One, you're older. Secondarily is a majority of our seniors that take internships are either employed by where they intern or they have connections where they get employment from their internship. So we have a pretty high amount of students who, after they do their internship, go into employment directly upon graduation, and as high as 2/3 of them. And we're very proud of that fact. I would like to, and she'll talk to you in just a moment, my assistant, Mrs. Beard, works with me placing students like you when you go into your internship. Now you as freshmen, you're thinking, well, what does this mean? It's going to be 3 years before I'm a senior, before I'll take this course, and before I'll go to internship. I will tell you, you're 3 years before you're a senior, and of course your sophomores and juniors and your other seniors are already there. Your 3 years are going to pass in a blink. And what you're going to be doing is from the time you're here now, that's why I'm so delighted that a lot of freshmen are here, is because if we prep you now from the time you're here as an adult in the university, you are establishing your brand. And in the job that you have chosen or the career field that you have chosen to do, small things have large consequences. If you have a DWI, you cannot be a police officer in the state of Texas for 10 years. If you want to work for the DEA like I did, and you have drugs in your background, you're really starting at a big disadvantage for an internship right now. It's a 0. And the thing that I want to really tell you on the front end, you have a promising career here. You've been admitted to one of the best, if not the best, criminal justice program in the country. We're well known throughout the country. We're extremely well known throughout the state of Texas. And your being an alumnus here will help you a lot in your job search. But you also need to keep your record, especially from this point on, clear as you possibly can. And that not only goes for what you do, but from the people you hang out with. Because when we do, and all of you, if you go into law enforcement, are going to have a background investigation done on you. Most of you will have lie detector test, Are they admissible in court? No, but can they use them when they're doing job interviews? Yes, they can. And so what they're going to want to know is, are you mature? Are you able to tell the truth? And what kind of history do you have in behavior? And so a lot of times it's not the police work is getting the applicants, is getting the qualified applicants who show the maturity, the respect, the type of background that they have that they can trust to entrust you with a badge and a gun and to go out and enforce the laws of the state. Now, that being said, not every law enforcement issue has to do with gun toters. There's gun toters and non-gun toters, because there's a lot of people that support law enforcement, federal agencies, state agencies, criminal agencies, that are not law enforcement officers, where they go out on the street and work nights and weekends and all that stuff, but they help with crime analysis, crime scene investigations, victims witness associations, and all of these types of things that you can do. So there's so many fields you can go into, and the one thing about choosing the field that you've chosen, we're hiring. There are jobs available. This is a great field if you do right through school, if you do great in your background, and you get out and you want to go to work, you can go to work. And you can have a great career. I've been doing this, as I told you, in law enforcement since 1967. Have there been days I didn't want to go to work? Yeah, but I will tell you this, I've never hated my job. I've enjoyed going to work. I've liked what I did. And if you ever get to a point where you get a job where you enjoy going to work, you're going to never really have to work. How many of you in here have you ever worked anywhere? How many of you had a job you don't like? Now, wouldn't you like to say when you end your career, I never had a job I didn't really like? Now, you might work with people you don't like. That's life. Most people don't leave jobs. Most people leave people. They leave because of people. But that's just dealing with human nature, and that's what you're going to have to deal with. But you're in a really good position, and what's so delightful to me, as a 70-year-old guy coming here talking to you that's been in this all my life, is you're a young freshman and you're here and your instructors have asked you to come here so you can start out on the right foot and get started, so that when you leave here in 3 or 4 years, you have jobs available for you. Will you maybe have to go to someplace before you go someplace else? Yes, like I did. I went to local law enforcement and moved to federal law enforcement. You see, I've moved these different positions. A lot of the retirement systems, though, kind of talk to each other. So I spent like 5 years with the city and 11 years with the county and then 11 years with the state. But when you start accumulating it all, these retirement systems kind of added up. So you're retiring when you have these orders. And I know it's like out of your brains even spin right now thinking about retirement, but it comes, and it'll come for you. But in the meantime, if you can come from here through your career before you retire and say, I like what I do, you're going to have a great career. Now let's talk about internships and why it's important. You think about it right now because you're going to be going to classes, and you guys and ladies in here that are already sophomores, juniors, and seniors, you've taken a lot of criminal justice classes. What I'm going to encourage you to do is these opportunities. We have a terrific human resources department here, and we're going to have a representative from the career services talk to you in a little bit. We have a great career services department at Sam Houston State. We even have a dedicated employee that comes here and works specifically with CJ students and victim study students and forensic science students here. That to mold yourself, because you are molding your brand, you're molding who you are and what you are, and now is not too early to start developing your resume. And our career services people have seen thousands of resumes, and they can help you develop that thing as you're trying to determine what you're doing. And what you need to do is establishing your brand, whether you're involved in service clubs, whether you're involved in outdoor activities, whether you're enjoying, and what's important for people to look. And something that you'll deal with that I've never had to deal with are like really a lot of electronic applications where they're looking, when you're applying for like federal jobs, you have to do it electronically over the internet, where there's a different type of stuff. They're looking for keywords, and they're looking for things when you're putting down your application to be surveyed for jobs. And this is what our career services is so terrific for doing. Once a year also we have, through working with career services, a criminal justice job fair where we have around 50 people from state and local agencies over at the in private circumstances. For every one person in a public agency like the Houston Police Department or the DEA or the FBI, there are 3 working for places like ExxonMobil, Macy's, Target, Walmart, working in their security service as part of it. So the field is not just public agencies, but it's private agencies that are looking in this field that we're talking about. You guys in this audience here, I can tell you, having children and grandchildren, you're much more technically advanced than I am. And as you get older, people are going to be more than you, and your ability to deal in computers and cybersecurity and electronic media is so important that you develop those skills as well. So don't always take the easiest courses. Take those courses that are going to advance you when you're going to get out. Because if everybody in here is an A student, let's just assume all of you are going to graduate with a 3.8 or a 4.0. Who are you competing with against for jobs? Everybody else in here. So then we start picking the details out from that. So it's important that you establish and do this thing. Now, internships, and Mrs. Beard, she does so much of the work for the internship program. If she retired, I would have to retire too, just because I couldn't put up with it. But I will tell you, she tells you, she will see, and you will see the students that take the internship more often than not will say in their papers when they, at the end of the term, this is the best experience of my college career. Because what we do is this: you have to be a senior. You have to have 90 hours. You have to have a 2.5 GPA. If you want to do a federal agency, you have to have 3.0 GPA. You have to have a clear background. You have to have enthusiasm to do the job. Because a lot of you are coming in here with no law enforcement experience. You might have experiences working Chick-fil-A or Walmart or Home Depot or something, but as far as getting the internship experience, you're going to work in an internship at Sam Houston State. We have a unique experience here in that it is a full semester, 40 hours a week at your law enforcement agency. So if you go to the Houston Police Department and we place you in the juvenile sex crime division, you are there 40 hours a week for a full semester. And while you're doing that, you're getting observed by police officers, practitioners in the field, so that when you get ready for a reference on your resume, it's just not, well, I went to Dr. Dozier's class, and I can say, yes, she was a great student. She sat on the front row. She answered all the questions. She participated in class, but other than that, I don't know much about her, and she made a good grade. If you work at your internship, they're saying they worked here 40 hours a week in the profession, doing things we wish we could hire them, or we are trying to hire them, and those types of references for you are going to be substantially better for you in the long run. Some of them are paid, some of them are not paid, but you'll find out when you get there. It's competitive. Some of you in here, the ones that are sleeping, won't be the ones getting the internship jobs. Those of you awake will probably be getting the internship jobs. But that's just the way it goes. It depends on what you want. It's a competitive world. Anybody play competitive sports? Who sits on the bench? Players that aren't so good, players that don't put in the time, players that don't do the stuff. You're going to get what you deserve. You're going to get what you earn. You're going to get it. That's just the way life is, right? But I will tell you, now is the time to start planning. Start looking. When you come out here during the week, especially when you start doing more criminal justice programs and you're in this building more often and you're getting your criminal justice schools, out there you will see police departments, You will see federal agencies. You will see private industry talking about hiring people. When do you start talking to those people? You start talking to them when you see them. Even if you're a freshman, you go up and say, tell me about your agency. Tell me about your job. Tell me what are you looking for in an employee? Tell me what the requirements are. You can ask them, tell me what you pay. Tell me what your retirement is. Tell me the good things about your department. The more you do that, and the more the information that you receive, the better are you prepared in these 3 years. I'm talking about 3, because it's going to be 3 before you're applying for internships, and they will pass fast. Some of you are ready to apply now, some of you in the future. And we have virtually hundreds of potential places where you can work as an intern. And you are going to have to make those decisions. I imagine some of you had ideas right now where you would like to go to work. But when there's a race, and the race starts, it's those that try the hardest, train the hardest, and work the hardest that are going to win the race. And that's why we need to encourage you as freshmen, especially you freshmen in here, to keep that opportunity going. And don't get your background in a problematic area where you cannot compete. Because if you have those problematic backgrounds, you're not going to be able to get the jobs that you're wanting to do and that you're going to love to do. I think it's important, if you can, to get involved with some of our organizations here, the criminal justice organizations. The more you show that you're prepared to contribute to the community. We're a very academically engaged campus here. And so what we will ask you to do as far as internships is this. Remember, it's going to be a full semester, 40 hours a week. So how do you do that? Well, you plan now, because you can't come up to your semester that you're going to do your internship and go over to criminal advisement, which CJ advisement, which you will, and they're going to tell you, oh, Bob, you didn't take biology 202, so you've got to take that before you can graduate, and it's only offered on campus, and you want to be an intern at the DEA office in Houston. Well, you're not going to be able to drive back and forth. So you kind of plan for these internships in advance, where you're saying, is this 9 hours of credit? It used to be called writing enhanced credit, but it's still 9 hours of WE credit, which is now academic community engaged credit. So you start planning for this now. You can do it anytime after you have 90 hours. I prefer you do it when you're a graduating senior. Why? Because a lot of times you have an opportunity to immediately get a job. They might say, hey, while you're here, what's your name? What's your name?
Kat.
Kat? They say, Kat, we're glad you're here. Would you like to apply for this job? And you could say, yes, but I got to go back to school and graduate. So what happens to Kat's job opportunity in between the time they employ and it goes back? It could go away. Because all of us that ran budgets and do these kind of things, these employment opportunities come and go. So we kind of like you to do it when you're about to be a graduating senior. And it's something kind of fulfilling about graduating, finishing a semester-long internship at an agency, having a job where the check's going to start coming as you finish, and walking down the aisle and getting your diploma. And so that's kind of a reward for your work at the end of the semester. What you do. There are many, many internships. I could sit here all day and tell you about them. If you're any victim services majors in here, victim studies. Okay, victim studies major, plenty of jobs in that area. There's all kinds of stuff that you can avail yourself of. Even in other majors, I think you can get internship even if you're not CJ majors. The thing that I think is unique about our CJ majors and our CJ internship is it's a full-time gig for a semester. That's substantive work that you really get an opportunity in. So how do you go about doing it? Well, you pay attention in the meantime. You go to our job fairs. You start learning about it. You start learning about the opportunities. When there's police officers or other opportunities out there hiring people, go talk to them about that. The more you inform yourself, the more you know about these jobs. No one, like is in high school, is going to grab your hand and say, go do this, go do that. You got to come here. You got to be here at 7. You know you're on your own now. If you're not 21 already, many of you will be 21 before long. You will have great opportunities through our career services people to help you with interviews, mock interviews, with resumes and so forth. But it's going to be up to you saying, I can take the course of my future right now and do it. So when you get ready for internships, you talk to us. You come in prepared with an idea of what you'd like to do. How many people have an idea in their head what you would like to do in your career? So you already kind of know, right? So keep that in mind as you're going and looking. Mrs. Beard's office is over the CJ Advisement. She's the internship, my assistant. She has a big book there of the hundreds of internships we had. It tells you about it. We work very hard to have your internship be substantive. And by that I mean you're really doing the work. You're doing something. Instead of like an internship where you become a file clerk or somebody to answer the phone or so forth, that you're really doing stuff, whether it's watching and interviewing victims of crimes, dealing with children that have been abused, or dealing with the DEA and working in their enforcement effort for narcotics, or working in the Houston Police Department and patrol divisions. We try to get you substantive work. And if you like something, what we try to do is place you in an opportunity whereas you have, it's kind of like placing, it's kind of like a marriage. You have to have the right sponsor with the right student because it's something you like to do and somebody that wants you. And if you have that, we consider that's a learning experience for you. We also consider it as an opportunity for you to go to work. We have one of the highest reputations in the state for putting people to work once they get out of the college. And ultimately, that's it. Some of you will go on to get your master's degree, your PhDs, you'll be academics, or you'll go to law school or something. But a lot of you, even right now, are thinking, I want to graduate and have a job that I love. And we can do that, but you've got to work with us to do it. Now, I would like Mrs. Beard to tell you a little bit about the application process and what you do about it. And then after she talks, we're going to have the career services talk to you to tell you how to mold your brand. There's nobody better than can do that. And then your professors that in your class will take over and talk to you about some other things. Mrs. Beard? Okay.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. As Dr. Dozier said, I'm Ms. Beard. I'm his internship assistant. My office is located in the advising office, A214. When you get ready to talk about the internship, you can come speak with me as well as your advisor. Every time you get advised, let them know that you're interested in the internship and they will work it into your degree plan. So like Dr. Dozier was saying, you won't have to come back and say, oh, I have to take this one class that's required to graduate, I can't do an internship. You are not required to do an internship as an undergrad, but it is very good, and like Dr. Dozier's speech, it helps you go out there, gain contacts, gain knowledge and of a career that you want to go into. It is for the entire semester. Some of the things are, you are required to intern 40 hours a week. That's one of the requirements. There's a syllabus you follow, and the main thing is that you get out there and you concentrate on your internship and make yourself proud and SHSU proud. Did everyone get one of these internship information cards? Okay. So on the back, you probably have read the requirements for the internship. The hour, like the 90 hours toward your degree plan and the 18 hours toward your CJ classes or victim studies. You do not have to have those when you actually apply. You just have to have them at the time your internship begins. That's where a lot of students get confused. But there's a pre-app form that is in your application, and you will have to see an advisor to get that checked off on, and that lets Dr. Dozier know that you will be ready to intern during the semester in which you're going to intern. Your GPA must be a 2.5 or higher for local or state, 3.0 for federal. For a federal internship, we do ask that you come and speak with us and apply for that internship 1 year in advance. It does take a while for federal interns. You know, federal intern agencies, they're kind of slow in their processing because it just takes a while. A lot of our federal agencies are located in Houston, so that's where you would be interning. Some are, I mean, there's different locations, but the ones that we mainly deal with are in the Houston area. There's one other thing I was going to tell y'all. Now it just slipped my mind. Oh, the book Dr. Dozier was talking about, the internship binder. In that binder is a lot of agencies and places where other students have interned before. We've taken that and put it in the book to pass along to other students. And when you go online to look at our the internship program under the CJ website, it gives a little list of a few agencies. And there's so many more agencies out there other than what's on the line and in the binder. Like Dr. Dozier said, if you want it, you're going to go out and get it, and you're going to seek for it. You're going to seek your agency and find where you want to be. We can help you any way that we can. It is up to you to find your agency. It's just like finding a job, but we are here to help you along the way. So, is there any questions?
I would like to add, and I can speak to is that there are also overseas agencies. We recently had people in Italy, we've had them in Panama, we've had them in Germany, we've had them in Israel, we've had them in England, we've had them in Washington, D.C. So there's also internships out of state, out of country, all competitive. You want to win the race, you'll get something that can do it. But we place a lot of people in those agencies. They all come out with a rewarding experience that I think not only get international experience, but you get there. But again, it's who's willing to do the work to get where you're going to go, and I know that you guys are ready to do that. Career services.
Okay, so if there's no questions for us right now, you know where my office is. You can come by and visit. Now we're going to turn it over to Miss Carol. She's from Career Services, and she will speak with y'all on your resume and things like that. Yes, sir.
The criminal justice job fair that you were talking about, when is that?
March. The first Wednesday in March of every year.
It's over at the Lowland Student Center. Make sure you go, even if you're not ready for jobs, you talk more, you meet people, and you'll see the same people year after year at those things.
Okay. Well, okay, let's get started so we can get out of here in a timely manner. I'm going to be talking to you about resumes, and this is something, it doesn't matter whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. This is relevant to you. Why? Because you can start using your resume now. When you go to the career events, the next career event coming up, by the way, is October 31st. That'll be the Victim Studies Career Fair, and that'll be in this building. So that's the next one that is upcoming. So you want to have your resume ready, because you don't know when somebody's going to say, so do you have a resume? You want to be ready to give it to them at that time, not sometime later. When you're networking, it may come up, obviously when you're applying for a job, and when you're applying for internships. So before I start talking about the resume, I want to touch just briefly on the internship piece, because you will need a resume for you or to apply for an internship. And yes, Sam Houston does have these awesome internships you can apply for when you're a senior. However, one of the things that I tell students, when you get here, the 9 credit hour internship, that's for your senior year. Does that mean you cannot do any other internship? No, it does not. You do a lot of researching on internships on your own. So if you find an internship you want to do the summer of your freshman year, the summer of your sophomore year, the summer of your junior year, all of that's building your resume and making you more competitive. So then you go to that internship your senior year that you get credit for. You don't get credit for the ones that you do prior to that. But it doesn't mean that you can't do one prior to that, because the more internships you do that are related to the field that you want to study, the stronger your resume gets. Why? Because you have more and more related experience that you can put on your resume. So let's get to talking about the resume. It all starts with how you think. How do you think of it? What are you thinking that it's for? A lot of people think a resume as a list of stuff that I put what jobs I had. But your resume, think of it as a talking document. It has to talk for you. It's a voice. And depending on how well it's talking, that will determine whether you get a chance to actually speak for yourself. Okay. So, out of all the different tools you have, your resume is the one, along with your elevator speech, 30-second commercial, that you're going to use over and over again. Over and over again, you're going to use it. And it's going to do one of two things. It's either going to do thing number one, blow your competitors out of the water, because you've been building all this experience and stuff, and you have marketed your resume very well, or you're going to get blown out of the waters yourself by your competitors because you haven't put together a resume that optimizes what your skills are. It's going to do one or the other. And so when you think of your resume, why is my clicking not clicking?
You want to use these little arrows here.
I'll use that. Oh, okay. All right, marketing is everything. How you put it together is everything. Okay, because the idea with your resume is you're trying to get your foot in the door. You want somebody to call you. All right, if it's not, yeah, but you don't want the other thing, door slammed in your face. So, what's the attitude? This is what and I'm not going to ask you all to raise your hand, but these are the attitudes that I see on a regular basis. Either one, people come in and say, well, Miss Carol, I don't have one. All right, now that I'm talking to you about that, I don't want you to say that anymore. I want you to get on point with this thing and be ready if somebody asks you for one. The other thing I hear, well, I did one in high school. So what about that? Well, for the most part, now that you're in college, your high school stuff has kind of expired. Because employers are really more interested in, oh, you're a college student. They want to know, what are you doing at the collegiate level then? Not about back in the day, because believe it or not, high school now is back in the day for you. We want you to have a resume that's constantly evolving. Okay, so this year I interned here, I was on this club, we worked on this committee. Next year I got a job, blah, blah. You want to keep building it, because the more you build it, the stronger it gets, the more competitive it gets. So you want to ask yourself, does my resume, can it withstand the competition from all the other people that graduate when I graduate, that have the same degree that I have? How is people come to me and ask me, how can I get the edge? Do I need to minor in this? Is that going to give me the edge? And I'll tell them, no. You know what's going to give you the edge? Your experience. That's the thing that usually give you the edge over the next guy. So you got to get past competition. And you got to get past the robot. The robot are the artificial intelligence that oftentimes are going to scan your resume instead of an individual. And if you can't get past the robot, then you're not going to get to talk. So that's why when Dr. Dozier, especially, I tell you who's really, really, well, I just spoke with the people from the Houston Forensic Science Center last week. And one of the things they were talking about, hey, if your resume, if it has any, they're nitpicky. If it has any grammatical errors, if it's not written right, they don't like that, and they'll toss it out. Why? They think your resume is a reflection of how you'll perform in the lab. And a lot of employers are like that. That's why you want to be very deliberate. You want to be strategic about how you put that thing together. The feds, if your resume does not line up with requirements that they have specifically asked for, and they can't specifically see it in your resume, they consider you unqualified and they will pitch your resume. It might not be that you're really unqualified. It might be that you didn't really go through that post and make sure your resume was lining up with it. So I get people, well, I don't know how to start. Well, that's why we're doing this, so we can help you get started. Do you just list jobs? You do list jobs, but that's not your main focus. What if I don't have any experience? That's why we're talking about internships, organizations that you join, leadership opportunities. For the people who said they were athletes, a lot of times they get opportunities to build their leadership skills and a number of other skills. What if my experience doesn't match the job I want to apply for? That comes, now that's a skill. That comes with what did you say about where you have worked? What skills did you use on the job you already had? Because some people think, well, they don't line up. Employers are looking for a lot of what they call soft skills, which are skills that transfer from job to job to job, doesn't matter what the job was. And I'm going to talk about that with more specifics later. And how many pages does it have to be? A lot of people get caught up when, well, it has to be one page. It does have to be one page if you don't have a lot of relevant experience. Because if you don't have a lot of relevant experience, and the jobs are like McDonald's, Burger King, Pizza Hut, and you're taking up 3 and 4 pages putting that on there, and it's not related to the job you want to have, then an HR person, they're going to pitch it. The robot is going to pitch it. Can your resume be longer than a page? Yes. If you can justify it being longer than a page, because you have a lot of skills and experiences that apply to the job that you're applying for. So sometimes that can get complicated. That's one of the reasons why we're here, to help you figure it all out. What should and what might be on one resume might not be what you put on another resume. There's a myth that there's a one-size-fits-all resume. And that's why we're calling it a myth, because employers don't want to feel like this resume is for any job, just give them, no, they want to know your resume, you want to work for them. And so your resume needs to reflect that. So now that you know that it needs to talk, I'm going to talk to you about what your resume should be talking about. There are 2 major things your entire resume should be talking about. Thing number 1, what attributes can you offer an employer? So I'll look at people's resumes oftentimes and they'll have an objective statement or branding statement that starts off something like that. This, I'm seeking a job with the Houston Police Department. Okay, the problem with that is that you're going to the employer with your resume like this. I want a job that gives me opportunities. Okay, so that's how the resume is starting, with your handout. The employer could care less about what you want, really. They're more focused on what? Yes. They're really focused on what do you have to offer us. So guess if you're going to be strategic about and market your resume well, from the first, where you first start writing, you should be talking about skills, attributes that you have to offer. So that's number 1, and you should continue talking about that through the entire thing. What's the next thing they want to know? How have your current and past employers benefited from having you as an employee? That's the other thing you should be talking about. Okay, I have these skills. Well, I'm going to use an example that I'll show you in a few minutes. Okay, I worked for a retailer, we'll say. So-and-so student worked for a retailer, okay? They ran the cash register. The resume could say, worked for Target, ran the cash register. Somebody else who also worked for Target submitted a resume at the same time. Theirs said, worked for Target, maintained a balanced cash drawer, and while simultaneously practicing good customer service relation skills. The HR person looks at it. Which person do they want to talk to? The second one. The second one talked about how their employer benefited from them running that cash register. Okay? Okay, so it starts with your name. Your name, it's about you. So I'll get some people's resumes whose names are small on there, just as small as everything else. When I glance at it, I can't even notice their name right away. Name should be the largest font. Don't get carried away. But it should be the largest font on there. Why? Because it's you. Who do you want them to call? You. All right. The next thing, contact information. You don't want your contact information taking up the whole paper, because some of you need a one-pager because you don't have a lot of relevant experience. So your contact information should be done one of two ways. Either put it in a little text box up in the one of the upper corners where it's not taking up a bunch of space off of the rest of the page, or put it on one line where you see where I have your name, and then that stuff up underneath it, that's your contact information. Now we haven't used a lot of space. Those are the basic headings that should be on your resume, and you can see that in the packet that we passed out to you, what your basic headings should be. Education. A lot of you are not going to have a lot of related experience. But if you want a criminal justice job and you're getting a degree in criminal justice, then you have a professional credential. So for some people, they can put their education at the end of their resume. If you don't have a lot of relevant experience, but your major is related to the job you want to get, guess where you should put that? Yes, up near the top. Up near the top. Why? Because it's your professional credential. I want a job in criminal justice. I have a degree in criminal justice. All right. Another thing I see oftentimes, it should be done in reverse chronological order. That means the most recent school comes first. I'll see some people's resumes and they don't even have Sam Houston on it, but they have high school and a community college they went to. Where are they getting the criminal justice degree from? Sam Houston. So guess what? That, in rank order, Sam Houston should be first. Okay? Education. Sam Houston State University. Major criminal justice. Minor if you have one. And if your GPA is 3.0 or higher, that would be, you put it on there. Don't put it on there if it's not 3.0 or higher. A lot of employers don't ask for it. So good marketing, don't highlight if you don't have the highest GPA. Don't go, hey everybody, you know, because then they'll be looking at if yours is 2.5 and then they're looking at another one that says 3.0, you know. So just don't even put it on there, and then, you know, they'll skim on over that. High school, basically, it's expired, so please don't have a lot of high school stuff. Now, some people, that's the only stuff they have, so we would need to work with you on that to filter out what's the best way to handle that. You do put your expected graduation date on there, so you have some idea of when you're coming out. All right. This is an example of an objective or branding statement which goes right up near the top. It is optional. I get people who say, well, I heard you don't use objectives and not to use an objective anymore. And I said, yeah, you don't have to use one. I'm going to tell you why you probably should, though. Why should you probably put a branding statement on your resume? It's good marketing. It's strategic. Okay? This person, I'll use an example, wanted to work for juvenile probation. They don't have a whole lot of related experience, so how does their resume start? Ethical. You think they might want an ethical person working in juvenile probation? Of course. Good listener. Do you think they might want a good listener working in juvenile probation? Of course. Experience working with children. Now they've given them 3 things that they're probably looking for in a candidate that they hire, and their resume is starting out with it. So that HR person is like, okay, let's read a little bit more. Versus the person that has nothing, and then the jobs that they see, Burger King, Target, you know what I'm saying? Then they'll say, what job are they applying for? We don't have any restaurant jobs we're hiring for. Major is all the way down at the bottom of the page. They might not read to the bottom of the page. So that's why it's good marketing to start with a branding statement, because you can start with true things about you that would make you good in that job, that inspires that person who's looking over it to keep reading. Okay? All right. I don't recommend summary of qualifications, so ignore that part over there because that's for people who do have a lot of experience. Okay, so now when you get into the body of your resume, I'm going to touch on the kinds of things you need to be thinking about putting in there. And it goes back to those 2 main things I was talking about, attributes you have and how employers have benefited. So I'm going to use this first one in the middle where it says work experience. Anybody ever had a job where part of their job was answering the phone? Okay. And so I get resumes that from people who part of their job was answering the phone, and so bullet point, answered phones. Okay, that's true, that was part of your job. But how many people know 2-year-old people who can answer phones? Okay, so if all you put is answered phones, basically you're saying, I do the same thing as my 2-year-old cousin. Is that impressive? Not necessarily. So we have this person who also answered phones. But instead of saying answered phones, we looked at that a little bit closer and said, okay, so-and-so, why were you answering the phones? I was answering the phone so I could direct callers to the appropriate staff people. How'd you do it? I did it quickly and efficiently. Well, what came out of that? Well, what came out of that was it minimized the caller wait time. So their bullet point, instead of saying answered phones, says directed callers to appropriate staff, quickly and efficiently minimizing the caller wait time. I have 2 resumes. One says answered phones. One says directed callers quickly and efficiently to appropriate staff members, minimizing the caller wait time. Which candidate do I want to talk to? Right. That's what I'm talking about in how you market your bullet points. You're marketing all the way through. You're talking about these are the attributes that I have. I can answer phones. How? I can answer it quickly and efficiently. I can minimize the caller wait time. That equates to satisfied customers. All right. I use some other examples up here. The middle one, improved sales by 19% within first month of employment through enhancement plus department visuals. That person worked in retail. Okay? Enhancing sales by 19%, that's employer bottom line. Oh, this person increased sales, let's call her. Instead of the person that says, I worked the sales floor. See what I'm saying? All right, that third person worked for Starbucks or something like that. So I get resumes that said provided good customer service. Okay, what's that really telling me? This person provided exceptional customer service to each individual by being warm and positive and striving to get every drink order correct. They're telling me how they provided good customer service. So I don't have to guess. HR people don't want to guess, they're not going to guess. If they don't see what they're looking for, then they just don't call you. Same thing with the robot. It's looking for those key words, those key attributes. If it doesn't see them, it's skipping on you. You're blown out the water. I've talked to many athletes. So that first column is talking about leadership experience. And that gives you some examples of he led meetings effectively by always starting on time and following a pre-established agenda. I know this person is well organized. I know they can lead a meeting. I know they probably supervise other people. You see what I'm saying? All in that one bullet point. Over here, when we tell you to get involved in organizations and do an internship, the first bullet point up there is somebody who didn't have a lot of work experience, wanted to work in finance, did an internship. So he had a bullet point for related experience, since it wasn't a job, that says he analyzed cost data to identify underlying principles and reasons for growth or decline on each individual product line. That was from an internship. Well, okay, let's call him. The other one, the bottom one, was somebody who was part of a club on campus. And they held a leadership role, and so their bullet point says, planned and organized school awareness events, including securing the venue, finding guest speakers, and coordinating catering. I know this person can delegate. I know they can supervise. I know they're well organized. I know they have good time management skills. I know all of that from that bullet point. That's how you want to be thinking of how you put the resume together. Think about, what did I do on this job? What skills did I use? What good came out of it? And that's what you want in your bullet points. Okay, this is hard to read, but it's what employers want. They're saying that they want. So, they're saying they want people with the ability to work in a team. Can any of you do that? Okay, then your resume should actually be saying it. Don't assume the employer knows it. They want people who have leadership. Well, does your resume show you have leadership? Does it talk about it? This list is recent, from 2018, of what employers are saying that they want. We do have a handout that has them all on it, since you can't read it good on this. For those of you who are in class with Castleberry or Mears, you can get that handout from them. For others, if you want it, you can get it from Career Services. Or you can come to my office here in CoCJ, and I can give you one. All right. All right, this stuff is optional. This is for the people, little experience. These are some other things you can put on your resume so the resume doesn't look empty. Because if they see a bunch of white space, what do you think the subliminal message is that you're giving? What's that? Yeah, oh, they haven't done anything. I see a bunch of white space. They're not talking about too much. Very good. So, do you want to send that message? No. Even if it's true. You still don't want to send that message. Okay? So how do you compensate for that? Well, then you talk about skills you have. Okay? I know Adobe Photoshop. I know the Microsoft Office Suite. Now, we've talked about some skills. I got certified in CPR. Okay? There are skills you can put on there. What else could you put? Well, you could talk about honors and awards that you got. I was on the dean's list 3 out of 4 years, okay? I belong to these kinds of organizations. Those are your filler things. Your references, please don't put them on the resume. Your references go in a separate sheet, all by themselves. And then when they ask, or even online, they'll say upload it separate, hand it in separate. Okay, and that takes us to this point. Once you get it written, please, even if we didn't help you write it, once you get it written, please bring it to us so we can critique it for you. Because these errors, we got off of resumes, okay? Remember when I was talking about the people at Houston Forensic Science Center and all that kind of thing? Okay, so somebody got a bachelorette of criminal justice. That's not what they meant to put, but when they skimmed over it, their eyes and their brains saw what they thought they were supposed to write instead of what they actually wrote. I had a person write, Dear Human Resources. Okay? I said, what does this say? Dear Human Resources. Read it again. Dear Human Resources. Read it one more time. Dear Human Resources. I said, it doesn't say that. His brain was telling him what he thought he was writing, but so his eyes were not seeing Dear Human Resources. HR person gets that. What do they do with it? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to do one more. Here goes. Here are my qualifications for you to overlook. What do you think that person meant to write? Yes, but they did not see it. We don't want that to happen to you. So please, 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 once you get the resume together, have us look it over for you. All right? Because I want everybody to attend the CJ Career Fair, actually any career fair. I want you to attend them. That gives you opportunity to network and get that resume in people's hands. That will conclude my presentation. I want to tell you one more thing. November 5th, we'll be having a panel in here of criminal justice, right in here, criminal justice professionals. I have a defense attorney coming in. I have an arson investigator coming in, a crime scene investigator coming in. I have someone from the FBI coming in, someone from the Department of Justice coming in. Some people, I have one guy, he's done everything. He's been in the military, he's with the airport police, he's worked for a local law enforcement agencies, he's been a federal marshal, he's worked for Homeland Security, he's done it all. Why do I want you to come? I want you to come so you can talk to these people face to face and ask them, how did you get started in your career? What are people in your line of work, what kind of people are they looking for? My guy from Department of Justice, he's getting ready to retire and go into corporate security. That's another field. I get a lot of people that say, I'm interested in doing criminal justice, but I don't want to be a police officer. How would you get into corporate security? That could be very high paying, by the way. Yeah. It is the same time, 2 o'clock. So everybody come, and this is the other tip I'm going to give you. When you come, when it's over, don't jump up out of your seat and leave. That's not good networking. What do you think I'm going to say you should do instead? Say what? Yes, come up to the speakers. They're very open to speaking to you. Thank you. What's your name? Elisha. Thank you, Elisha. Yes, go up to them. Introduce yourself. Tell them what you're interested in. Get their what? Get their business card. Why are you going to get the business card? So you can contact them later. Yes. Do that. Please. Last year's group, I was very proud of. They did that. And our speakers stayed almost another hour, spending questions from individual students. So that is going to be my recommendation for that. I am located in room C218, and I'm here Tuesdays and Thursdays. Feel free to come and see me if you have additional questions. Thank you for your time this afternoon.